Okay, play the game long enough to know what to actually do. What do I mean by that? So, to explain this whole concept to you, I've got a story for you. So, I have moved to this new place in Kengeri, Bangalore. Beautiful place. And I wish I lived there as a kid simply because they have a football ground right next to where I live in our building. So there are kids right at this football ground, and I go to play there occasionally on the weekends and stuff when I have time. And the other day I went down to play over there, and I'm just looking at the ground. This is before the game started. Nobody was really there. I was just looking around the ground. I was like, okay, that part of the ground is really bumpy. Probably can't dribble there as much. Try to pass the ball a little bit more, or maybe take a shot because it's in a good angle from the goal. But then I'm thinking, like, okay, wait, with shooting, technically, I'm probably not the strongest or the best that I've ever been with shooting. So maybe try playing a cutback to like somebody that's running into the box, or try playing a long ball, or maybe even with shooting, like don't go for power, go for placement, or just try to lob the keeper. And okay, what are my other strengths? I can't dribble over there because the ground is bumpy, so then I have to play a pass or a long ball. This part of the ground, I can sprint with the ball because these guys usually don't play that wide. They're quite amateurish. They like run like horses straight up and down, and all these different things, right? And that's when it sort of hit me. Like I know so many do's and don'ts when it comes to football. How is that? Like, how do I know, okay, don't do this because it'll end up like this? Don't do that because it might end up like this. Do this because that seems like a good place to do it. And I was like, dude, I want that sort of clarity with business. Like, I want to know what not to do. I want to know what to do. And with confidence, even like a lot of the decisions that I make with business is like I believe in myself, but and I believe in my capability of being able to execute or get shit done, but I don't necessarily believe that that is the right thing to do. And not because I'm doing something wrong, but because I don't know whether that'll be fruitful enough. Like if there are 10 options to do, whether me doing these two things, will that actually be useful? Now, it was really evident then that, okay, the game is simple. You just need to play it long enough. And it's as simple as that. Now, mind you, with football, it's not like I played for 100 years or something. I played probably like 6-ish, 7-ish years at a semi-professional level, and before that is casually. So maybe let's just say 10 years, round figure, about 10, maybe a little bit more than that, but 10 years, around 10 years of football, and that got so much clarity. So then it's like, okay, wait, isn't it obvious? Like, just play the game long enough. Now, I think when it comes to doing stuff, right, like especially in new endeavors, um, it's things you know how to do, or things you know you should do, and things you know you should not do. Now, funnily enough, when I was speaking to the founder of my company, and he was speaking about, okay, you need to start doing sales and all of that, and I was just like, yeah, let's go, let's go. And he made this very important point that Dhruv, like when you start, you'll actually know shit. Right now, you don't even know what you don't know. And let that sink in for a second. You don't even know what you don't know. If you didn't get what it means, I'll try to explain it best as I can. But let's just say that in this case, I need to speak to customers, right? Now, the customers are going to ask me questions about certain things that I won't have the answers to. I don't even know what those questions are, right? Like, I don't even know what the questions will be. So, obviously, I do not have the answers to those questions. So, it's like I'm two steps behind at this point. So, that's another thing I realized that, okay, as I progress through the game, as my don't knows get fewer, that is when I'll start beginning to conquer the game. Because the next step is knowing, right? The next step is knowing what the customer will ask and then knowing what the answer is. But right now, I don't even know what that question is. So the first step to really realizing that, okay, I'm getting better at this game is knowing that I know what the don't knows are. right? Like for example, in business, in a broader sense, I know what I should not do that will not get me my objective done. And then you can actually focus on what you should do. And there's a lot of humility in that because I felt it, right? Like when he said it to me, you don't even know what you don't know. I was like, first, I was like, please, I've been reading about insurance. I know my shit. But then again, deeper reflection, with deeper thought, I realized that I don't. Like, I don't know jack shit. Like, the customer is going to ask me 101 questions. I don't even know those questions. So, letting go and just being like, yeah, okay, that's part of the whole learning process is important. The other whole idea is the speed of knowing. So I've got two really examples that will convey this idea. Now, the first is I was watching this English movie. It was somewhere in the 90s or something the other day. It's called Finding Bobby Fischer. Now, I don't usually watch a lot of movies, but the reason why this movie was interesting is because it's about this chess player who is a young prodigy and how he sort of balances being a kid and being a prodigy at the same time. Now, I got really interested about the person who the book. I mean, the movie was inspired by. Bobby Fischer is this legendary grandmaster in chess from America and stuff. But the movie was not about Bobby Fischer. It was about this kid who was like predicted to become the next Bobby Fischer, right? Now, excuse me if I'm saying his name wrong, but I don't remember the kid's name. But I got interested about who he is today. Like, where is this guy, now? Because he's around 6 years old or something around that age in the movie, and this movie came out in like 1990, so I'm assuming he'll be like in his, I don't know, but he should still be around. So I looked it up. I found a few podcasts of him. I found one podcast with Andrew Huberman, and in it he's basically explaining how chess works and how thinking with chess works. Now, what he said was, when you're young, like when you fuck up, you spend like hours analyzing it, like 6 hours at some point, 6 to 12 hours at any given point. You're analyzing your entire game to just realize like that one mistake that you did. And mind you, it's not like that one mistake is like the end of the game. That one mistake happens much earlier in the game, and that's why it takes so long. Now, when you play the game long enough, is what he says, like really experienced chess players, they know instantly. Like, that's why you see chess players like so reactive. Like when they notice their opponent made a mistake, they're able to see so far ahead instantly that they know that, okay, this guy's done, right? So that comes back to the whole idea of like realizing, okay, again, it's just a game of how long are you in it, and at the same time, you can think faster and know exactly what you did wrong, and then sort of work things around it. So the speed at which you make mistakes, and this, I mean, the speed at which you realize the mistakes you made only changes once you play long enough. Another thing is, I realized like right now the thought itself does not occur for me. Like, I'm not thinking only like how, like, what are the mistakes that you're doing wrong, like where are you going wrong. Like, a lot of times I'm just doing things, and then until there's a fuck up, I'm like, oh fuck, okay, this is where I did something wrong, bro. Like, are you dumb? And that is one huge understanding for me. And then again, with the whole football situation, I'm able to snap out of the game, snap out of things for a second, and like look at things like almost from a different lens. And then I'm like, bro, this is what you're doing wrong. Like, isn't it obvious? And that was this whole another realization where when you're not in the game long enough, you're so involved in being in the game that you don't realize the mistakes that you're making in a lot of cases. And again, it's just a matter of time. Like, with 2 years, I know with 2 years into business, approximately, I know all the fuck ups that I've done. But I really don't know a lot of them. And I can't wait to get to the point where I've been in this for like 10 to 15 years to actually know that shit, these are what, like, all the things that you did wrong. And this is what, like, a real understanding looks like of what to do and what not to do. So obviously longevity is part of this, right? Now, if you go into the specifics of longevity, like how do you sort of, like, what are signs maybe that you increase longevity? I think one thing that I've realized is thinking big. Now, how you might ask, like, Dhruv, like, what the fuck is the relationship between thinking big and playing the game long enough? See, I'll give you a simple example, right? Like, when we started out Paint Me, my whole idea was like, okay, how do we survive the next 3 months or the next month or the next 4 months? But when, like, I was reading Bill Gates's book a few months back, and he's basically speaking about how he had saved up enough for a year, right? Again, a year is not a lot, but it's a lot more than a month. And that basically increases odds of staying in the game longer. So that in itself shows that, okay, this guy is going to be in the game longer, and that means he's going to learn more, and be in the game longer to actually understand things. So thinking big is one thing that definitely helps. Another thing that I've also realized is instant learning versus, like, actually long term learning. See, like, this whole, like, everybody's speaking about it, like, information is at the tip of our fingertips, like, our generation should learn like this and blah 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 blue blue. The reality is information can be, like, literally in front of our face 24/7. We still won't learn unless we make those mistakes. That's just the whole reality of the whole situation. You can read as many books as you want, you can learn as much as you want to do, you can listen to as many people as you want to do. At the end of the day, when you're on the battlefield, you're most likely going to make the same mistakes that those people did, and you might notice those mistakes sooner than somebody that has not read or watched anybody else make those mistakes. Like, for example, in my case, like with hiring, I spoke about this in one of my previous videos. I'll have it show up over here. But with hiring, I know exactly what a lot of people have fucked up with hiring, but yet I made those same mistakes. And I noticed when I made those same mistakes even. So knowing that the mistakes is probably something that it helps with, to know and read and all of that. But it does not make it easier. Like, the learning happens on the battlefield. I've spoken about this in a lot of my videos, but just because information is accessible and we think that, okay, I have all this information at my fingertips, that means what somebody did in 30 years, I can do in 2 years. Now, again, maybe the speed increases because you know that you made that mistake. Like, a lot of people make the mistake and they continue to do it. And that's what a lot of people probably did in the past for so many years. But now we can make the mistake and know that's a mistake and then fix that. So that's probably the advantage we have with information being at our fingertips. But that's one thing that I got horribly wrong. I just sometimes need to snap myself out of it, which I do it quite often, and remind myself that, hey, look, it's going to take a bit. Chill out, like, relax. You'll get there eventually, you'll understand things, but relax. Another whole idea that I've spoken about in my last video itself, focus, but is this whole thing of doing more. So if somebody were to make, like, a mistake doing something, or doing something every month for the next 10 years, they'll probably make that same mistake or a different mistake 120 times. But if I did something like similar like them, like, for example, creating content, right? Like, let's say somebody creates a video for 1 month for the next 10 years, they probably have 120 videos, and that means they have 120 different reference points to learn from. If I create one video every day for the next 1 year, I have 360 videos to learn from. So it's this whole idea of do more, learn faster. Now, I think that's another place where technology really comes into our benefit, because we have the leverage of technology, right? Like, for somebody before, to build a business out of thin air was probably much harder. Like, they needed to, have a physical store, a product, or some sort of domain expertise to be able to build a service. Today, I can just go into ChatGPT, conduct a deep research on a particular topic, understand everything about it, be decently qualified enough to create a sale, and then have a business started out like that way. So that's where technology really comes into the picture, where you can leverage it. And not only that, but to get shit done even. Like, for example, simple things, right? Like, you see the splits in my video, like the time codes, like, okay, you can click on this time code because I'm speaking about this topic. So before, what I would do is I would go manually enter each time code. Like, I would add like markers in my video, and I would manually go and enter each time code from my video on YouTube. Really frustrating process. I hated doing it. But recently I discovered this method where you could just export your markers and then have that time coded on, like, your there's this website for it, builder.io, if I'm not wrong, that's what it's called. But you can just have it exported over there, and then it converts it into a YouTube time code, and you can just copy paste that into your YouTube. Fucking insane. Makes things so much easier. So that's really where technology becomes a leverage, and this whole idea of doing more and learning faster becomes prevalent. Surrendering to like realizing that doing more is going to be hard is one thing that helps. It helped me. I'm currently implementing that strategy. I'm not going to talk about it right now because I want to actually do it long enough to actually know if there is learnings in it and understand about it a little bit more and then speak about it. It's not like the fruit is not ripe yet with that whole idea of doing more with like volume and stuff, but eventually I will. So that definitely is one thing that helps. So to end this video, really, I think the summary or the TLDR is, it's not about motivation, it's just being in the game long enough. It's if you just make it as robotic as that, like, hey, look, I need to play this game for 10 years, no emotions, no like family, no this, that, no. 10 years or maybe 20 years, that's when I learn. And if it happens sooner, then sure, why not? Like, fine, like enjoy it. But for the most part, it's a long game. Just play the game long enough. So I hope you guys gain some value from this video. Again, I'm going to end my videos for this with this whole idea. The reason why my videos are so long is because I consume this sort of content, and I know that it's sort of helping me also in the way, because like I know the longer I'm able to do something, the better it is for my brain. I spoke about that in my previous video. There's actual studies that prove this. So if you're able to consume this sort of content, then good on you, dude. Like you're in the right direction because you're able to actually do things long enough. Usually how I consume this sort of content is through audio only while I'm doing stuff like riding to work and all of that, mundane tasks. But again, that's the whole reason why it's so long. But if you gain some value from it, then share it to whoever you think might also. And until next time, bye.